And it's Ryan Gibson who takes the checkered flag, his 6th of the season, and he becomes the inaugural Earl Ross Cup champion in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. You see the celebrations already begun in the grandstands, and coming through the Peraltada for the final time, your champion of the Formula One Series in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network is the Hurricanes E-Motorsports Honda of Corbin McCauley. Darcy Ford in the lead here, coming through turn 4. Peden trying to go inside. He may have him on the apron. Darcy Ford, he's going to get it. Darcy Ford is your champion. Darcy Ford clinches the Earl Ross Cup.
And into the final corner comes Daniel Cudmore. He wins Season 2 of the Canadian E-Motorsports Network Formula One Series.
Darcy Ford, and he is the overall F1 All-Star Racing Series champion.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I want to do that again so bad.
Just one of the greatest days of my life.
All is good in the world when you win this race.
I tell you folks, it's always special coming back to the original Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and that's where we are tonight. It's round 6 of the Rampage Coffee Company IndyCar Series in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network, and it's the second installment of the Indianapolis 250. And as you can see, things got a little wild on the Indianapolis road course last week. Pretty hectic first half of the race, but ultimately it was the number 3 Chevy of Darcy Ford who picked up the win. And as you'll see here in a moment with the driver's standings, things have gotten a lot tighter here with A.J. Knickel, who had to retire from the last race. His lead's cut down to 10 points over second place Darcy Ford, with Dan Cudmore lurking there in third. Chevy's actually occupied the top 4 spots in the championship. As you'll see, that's provided a significant advantage in the manufacturer battle here as well. And an important thing to note here tonight, double points on the line for our drivers. So the way we'll break it down as we take a look at third place right now is Justin Miller. By the way, my name's Jordan Carraher. Happy to be on play-by-play once again. Miller, as you can see, he's currently in third with 2.5 minutes left in the qualifying session here. Corbin McCauley holds pole position with a time of 39.704 seconds. Definitely got a little bit of drafting help here, and Miller, unfortunately, is not going to benefit from that here, as Andy Hurdle's just moved up into second. Ty Higginbotham, meanwhile, he was part of that draft. He's now 2/1000ths of a second ahead. That's him in the 27 in the yellow. And it looks like he's just going to duck down and go into pit lane here now. Definitely the beneficiary of some drafting here, as we've kind of sorted some stuff out. And as you can see, the times, they're getting a lot lower here. 7 of our drivers below that 40-second threshold now. And we were talking about Justin Miller being third a moment ago. He's dropped down to 7th. But now the guy everyone's watching here, the guy everyone's chasing, A.J. Knickel. Let's see what he's got at the line. And he does not move up for the time being. He remains third, 39.720 his time. Andy Hurdle currently in 4th. With, that's Marcus Snow rounding out the top 5. Ryan Gibson 6th. Darcy Cudmore's just jumped up into 7th, 39.940. Justin Miller in 8th. Jared Ireland provisionally 9th, but he's got a 1-place grid penalty for a pit lane violation coming his way, so he'll start right now a projected 10th, which would move Michael Dimitrov up a spot. Cody Cudmore currently in 11th. Mike Marini in 12th. Jason Butler down in 13th, as A.J. Knickel's just set the fastest lap here, 39.519. About 8/100ths of a second up on Andy Hurdle. As we'll go ahead and see if we can find the number 6. Oddly enough, he won the first Indy 250 before we got our season officially going. And so Hurdle could be a guy to look at here tonight. If a few breaks happen to go his way, maybe things will work out once again for the 6. And again, with double points on the table, definitely a race that can change a driver's fortunes over the course of the season. As again, we're still with Corbin McCauley here, trying to get a draft off of the back of, it appears to be Michael Dimitrov. Or no, that's either Darcy Ford or Jason Butler, either one of those bright yellow ones. As qualifying is officially done, Corbin McCauley unable to improve on his time. And so it looks like it'll be A.J. Knickel starting on the pole. So again, double points here tonight. It looks like that's another 50 points on the books here for him. Darcy Ford, his nearest championship challenger, is starting in 8th. So if my math is correct, and for those who've watched some of the NASCAR broadcasts, they know my math isn't exactly the greatest on the fly, but I think that's an 18-point swing in A.J. Knickel's favor right away, with the race coming. And again, we got a full field of drivers here tonight, the full 16 that's allowable in the Project Cars 2 online lobbies.
As again, it looks like qualifying's just getting wrapped up. You see all the ghost cars coming into pit lane. And there you see just how close it is. Top 8 drivers separated by 0.4 of a second. As again, we're just gonna wait for everything to cycle through here. And again, for a reminder, we are on the classic 2.5 mile oval layout. There you see the signature bricks for the start finish. Just waiting for a few final tweaks here. So if we look at the starting grid, again, it's AJ Knickel on pole, Andy Hurdle starting in second. Ty Higginbotham will take off third, Corbin McCauley in fourth. Justin Miller there in fifth. Marcus Snow starting sixth. Ryan Gibson right behind him in seventh. Darcy Ford rounds out the top half of the field in eighth. And starting ninth will be Cody Cudmore in the number 15. Rounding out the top 10 will be Michael Dimitrov in the number 22. Starting 11th will be Jared Ireland driving the number 8. 12th is series founder Dan Cudmore driving the number 2. Behind him in 13th, Jason Butler driving the number 28. Mike Marini will take off in 14th in the number 12. Scott Kellum starts 15th in the number 21. And rounding out the field, number 18 of Ivan Reynolds, as it looks like we got somebody in the wall already. Was that Miller? I think that might have been Justin Miller that tagged the start finish inside pit wall there. Not 100% sure what went down. Certainly didn't look promising, we'll put it that way, but we'll have to see if that's something that's going to carry over to the actual race itself, whether it was just a connection issue or what happened. But again, all eyes on that number 20 of AJ Knickel, as they've been for pretty well the balance of the series so far. Of course, 4 of the 5 victories, and missed out on last week. The only reason, I would say, because he was cruising in the first stint, just went 1 lap too long in the first run, ran out of fuel on the way to pit lane, and that was that for the 20. And again, that opened things up for Darcy Ford to take the win. As they make their way down the back straight into turn 3. Again, this is just the pace lap here. Eckel trying to keep everybody under control. Of course, he does kind of dictate when everyone can take off here. Down that mini straightaway into 4. And you know, Andy Hurdle's going to try and get that jump straight off the hop again. It was Hurdle who won the first Indy 250 back in March, so certainly some good vibes around Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the number 6. And let's just see. Slowly rolling up to the bricks. We're going to get some lights here in a sec. And there we go. We are officially underway in our second Indy 250. It looks like Knickel gets a good jump off the line. Gets that inside line into turn 1. Hurdle there in second. Coming up in third is, I think, Corbin McCauley. Trying to get around the outside, and he does move up into second straight away. So here we go. Drag race down the straight. Knickel and McCauley. McCauley takes the lead, as a matter of fact. And there you see that number 5 on the outside. What is going on here with AJ Knickel? Again, this could be something up here. I didn't see any contact, so I'm not 100% sure what's going on there with the 20. But again, Corbin McCauley's going to be the beneficiary here, as he's going to grab the lead in the very early going of tonight's Indy 250. And so again, we're going to have to keep a very close eye here on what's going on with AJ Knickel. Meanwhile, it looks like we've got somebody else disconnected here. I'll have to figure that out. I think that might have been Justin Miller. So I think what I was suspecting before has come to fruition. Unfortunately for the 98, it looks like a disconnection has befallen the number 98. So he's out of this one. Again, AJ Knickel in pit lane here now. So some early attrition here in tonight's Indy 250. 100 laps of this 2.5 mile oval. And again, I'll just Take a quick look into pit lane here to see if there's any action in the number 20 pit lane. And it does look like he's set to rejoin the race. Matter of fact, there he is. As Cody Cudmore is going to come in for an early pit stop from 12th place as well. So, again, not 100% sure what's going on there. It'll be interesting to hear some of the rationale afterward. But right now, again, it's Corbin McCauley in the lead of this race on lap 3, coming through turn 4. Set to begin lap 4. And so the quick rundown here, the top 5. McCauley's leading, Hurdle second, Ty Higginbotham in third, Darcy Ford in fourth. Rounding out the top 5 is the number 14 of Marcus Snow. And just 1.5 seconds separating those 4. And as you see there, it's about, well, less than a second separating the top 3. And that top 3 now includes Darcy Ford, as a matter of fact, as he's gotten a move done on Ty Higginbotham. Not sure if Higgy maybe got loose in a corner there, but Darcy Ford says thank you very much. And again, he finds himself up now in 3rd place. Meanwhile, AJ Knickel, after that early pit stop from the lead, he's already found himself back up into 12th place. But again, that would be the beneficiary of pit stops happening around him as well. And Knickel, I would say, is about a lap down here at this point. I don't see the 20 immediately on the screen, but that would be something that certainly be figured out. As a matter of fact, should be able to bring up the track map. And we'll see where we can find the 20. And again, there he is, kind of right in no man's land somewhat. And not quite running as close as maybe I thought, just based on the times, but back to the lead battle here. McCauley and Hurdle separated by 0.3 of a second. Darcy Ford trying to get up the board here as well. And it looks like Ford might have an opening here on Hurdle, trying to use a little bit of the slipstream. And they'll be coming into turns 3 and 4 here. Again, that little mini straight between 3 and 4. It's not full-on rounded corners here at Indy, of course. You see the signature rectangular shape of the circuit. But again, right now, it's Corbin McCauley who's in control here as we move on to lap number 7. And McCauley in the lead. Hurdle second. Darcy Ford remains third. Marcus Snow's moved up into 4th. Ty Higginbotham rounds out the top 5. And Higginbotham, he's going to have the 83 of Ryan Gibson breathing down his neck here relatively quickly. As again, we continue to watch some of these battles develop. And speaking of battles, we'll actually go down to that 6th and 7th battle that could be potentially developing if things don't want to be blurry anymore, between Ryan Gibson and Michael Dimitrov. Gibby currently in 6th, Dimitrov 7th, and Jared Ireland lurking right behind them in 8th. 3 very familiar names, familiar with one another, especially from the F1 All-Star Series that we competed in. Over the winners, we got somebody into the wall. Somebody flipped over. Not sure if that was Ireland or who that was, but somebody went for a rough ride there. And I think it may have been the number 8 of Jared Ireland, but again, we'll confirm that as we go along, but it was definitely a hard hit out of that turn. No, it might have been Andy Hurdle, actually. It is Hurdle in pit lane. Oh no, the previous Indy 250 winner. Suddenly, I'm not sure what happened, whether he got loose or what's going on, but you can see the damage done here to the 6. At minimum, he needs a new front wing. So that is going to take the 6 out of commission here for at least a lap. And that's going to give Corbin McCauley a little bit of breathing room here as we're on lap 9. And he just slides underneath Cody Cudmore. So, a bit of an eventful start here again to this Indy 250, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's providing plenty of excitement here. As again, we're on lap 10 now. And Cody Cudmore with a little brush up against the wall into turn 2. As it looks like McCauley and Ford have both gotten by him. Marcus Snow has done the same. And it looks like Ford might be trying to move on McCauley here into turn 3. And these two certainly no strangers to one another on our various racing platforms. And again, you'll see both of them in our upcoming 3rd season of our NASCAR series. So I suppose as a bit of a reminder, we will go ahead and take a very quick break here, as we will, again, just kind of give you an idea of what to expect here in about 6 weeks' time when we bring NASCAR back.
Wide coming through the turn here. They're coming up to the line here now. Darcy Ford still got a Ward trying to get inside though. Where's Ward going to come in? Darcy Ford. And there's the checkered flag. Darcy Ford. And indeed, as he comes through turn 4, he's going to see the checkered flag. And there it is. Scott Bailey is your winner of tonight's Fix Auto 250. They're going to get the white flag this time around. Final lap of tonight's track device W125. And coming through. Oh, Marini went through. They're right on the back of each other. Paytack's going to get in on the inside. They're door to door. Paytack into the wall. Mike Marini, he's going to win. Got about 3 or 4 wide behind him on that back
There's
straight.
a lot of carnage right there.
Oh, dear.
A lot.
I don't know what to tell you, folks. If that doesn't get you going for season 3 of the Canadian E-Motorsports NASCAR series, I don't know what will. Certainly shout out to series founder Dan Cudmore for putting that one together, as we're back on lap 13 of tonight's Rampage Coffee Company IndyCar Series race, Indy 250, as it looks like Mike Marini's our next retirement. And again, season 3 of our NASCAR series, it's going to start 2 weeks after this IndyCar series ends, so that would put us at June 14th for an opener. We've just released the schedule for that 17 race season, so that'll take us through most of the summer and then the fall. And again, a lot of the drivers that you see here, you're going to see them in that as well, and we've gotten plenty of interest over the course of the last couple of weeks since we announced it was coming back. So we should have a pretty healthy field joining us at Daytona to begin season 3. Meanwhile, back on tonight's race, we're on board with Darcy Ford here, who's 0.2 of a second back of race leader Corbin McCauley. And we're on lap 14 of 100 in tonight's Indy 250. And it looks like Marcus Snow's hanging right with them in 3rd. Ryan Gibson certainly not out of the picture in 4th. Mike Marini in 5th. And about a second separating the top 5 as it stands right now. But again, the main battle is at the head of the field right now, McCauley and Ford. Ford trying to find a way past that number 5. But again, if there's something that we've learned about Corbin McCauley, especially over the course of the various racing series that we've done, the guy can flat out drive and he can flat out move. So he's certainly not going to be an easy one for Darcy Ford to get by it, especially, well, even with the significant experience and skill that Darcy Ford has himself. And Ford, the only driver with wins in 2 different series as it stands right now. Or series victories, I should say. Having won season 2 of our NASCAR series and, of course, the F1 All-Star Series this past winter. As we're on to lap 16 now. Be interesting to see what the pit windows look like here as we get into that first window. We'll see what everyone was carrying to start. Matter of fact, let's grab the old speedometer here and we'll ride along with Darcy Ford just to see what he's got left and what he's burning for fuel. So he started the lap with roughly 15 liters of fuel there, as you can see on the telemetry dash. And you can see some of the speeds that they're reaching. Some of the guys, I would assume, are touching 220, and matter of fact, there you go. 24, 225, 230. Yeah, 230. I feel like an auctioneer here. 233, 233. Certainly helpful with the slipstreaming here at Indy. And of course, that makes things a little more risky here, especially when you get up onto back markers like our leaders have just done. And again, looking at fuel gauge, roughly 2.5 liters used up there by Darcy Ford. Certainly helps be kind of tucked behind Corbin McCauley. So we'll check in on the number 5 the next time he gets to the start-finish line, just to get a sense of the kind of fuel he's burning at the head of the field. As we'll briefly check on Michael Dimitrov, who's going to be under pressure here from Jared Ireland momentarily coming into turn 3. But again, I don't think that's going to materialize just because of the sheer speed of the slipstreams here, the power of them. As again, we look at Corbin McCauley's fuel dash here, reads 8.6, read 8.9 at the start of the lap. And as they come into turn 2, certainly looks like doing his best to hold on here. But again, we'll get a sense of whether or not the front-running number 5 does have to burn just a little bit more than that second place Darcy Ford. And again, for championship references here, if the race was to end right now, as we'll just get a final look at Holly's fuel gauge, yeah, it's about the same, 2.5 laps there, or 2.5 liters on that lap. So we're looking at probably 2 or 3 laps before our first window of pit stops. And of course, that'll shift AJ Knickel back to the front. He's currently 10th right now, which is notable in that if the race was to end right now, accounting for the 18 points that he picked up for the difference between himself and Darcy Ford, Ford currently running second, Knickel 10th. Second typically gets 44 points, but the double would make it 88. 10th is 28 times that by 2 is 56, 32-point difference. Darcy Ford would be leading the championship if things ended as they are right now. So definitely something to watch as we go along, as we're on lap 21. And it looks like we're getting some pit stops here in the midfield, as Jared Ireland, Jason Butler, and Dan Cudmore are all in 7 through 9. As we'll check in on Marcus Snow here. He's got Michael Dimitrov on the back of him as he tries to get to Ryan Gibson himself. This is 3 through 5 you're seeing on screen. Snow running in 4th, and it looks like everybody's coming in. And I wonder, did Snow just tag the wall on the way into pit lane? I think he might have. I mean, if there's a place to do it, that would certainly be it. But certainly you want to keep the cars clean. And now on lap 22, it's going to be Ty Higginbotham who's inherited the lead while the majority of the field's in pit lane. And again, as everybody cycles through, that is going to bring AJ Knickel up the field here after that lap 1 pit stop. And it looks like everybody's slowly making their way out here. We'll just have to see what everybody's doing as Higginbotham makes his way in. He'll have enough fuel to get back there. And Knickel himself is going to be coming in probably this lap here as well, based on the fuel load. And certainly not making the same mistake as last week. He'll dive in. Meanwhile, it looks like we had Scott Kellum disconnect as well. So that leaves us with 12 active runners here through the first round of pit stops. And it looks like when all's said and done, it's going to be Darcy Ford who inherits the lead, which means the other disconnection I missed was Corbin McCauley from the lead. Oh no, that is horrible news here as I'm realizing it on the screen. McCauley ran an absolutely perfect opening stint, but I'm not sure what happened, whether there was a disconnection. Certainly looked like the fuel was okay from when he was going to pit. But yeah, not sure what happened, but what I do know is that that puts Darcy Ford into the lead Jared Ireland in second, less than half a second back, 0.3 back as a matter of fact. Ireland on an absolute flyer here, getting all over the back of the 3. And it looks like Ireland's going to try and make the move on the outside. And this is outside into turn 3. Ford with a good job initially of squeezing it off. And again, confirmation there that McCauley has retired from the race. Drag race to the line, and it looks like Jared Ireland is now your new leader here of the Indy 250. Haven't seen a whole lot of Jared Ireland over the course of this season, admittedly. I think he's only been able to make a couple of races, but when he's around and on form, he's certainly a guy to watch. And again, Ireland now in the lead, stretching it out actually, 0.6 of a second. Not sure if Darcy Ford may have had something go on his out lap there per se, or the lap immediately after. As we're coming up on 1/4 distance here in tonight's Indy 250. As you can see, a lot of stuff has happened here. That first stint was very eventful all the way through the field, it has to be said. And again, if we take a look at the updated standings here, again, Darcy Ford, if the race was to end now, would pick up 88 points for second place. AJ Knickel's running in 9th right now. That would be 30 points, multiply that by 2, that's 60. 28 points. If they finished as they are now, we'd have a tie ball game headed to round 7 next week. And round 7, of course, is at Road America. And I'm going to act like I totally remembered that in the heat of the moment when I needed to actually have that information as opposed to 5 seconds later. Meanwhile, we begin lap 26 with Jared Ireland as your leader. Darcy Ford there in second. Michael Dimitrov up into third, as we got a little bit more separation here in the pack. With Marcus Snow in fourth. Dan Cudmore rounds out the top 5. Jason Butler up into 6th. Ty Higginbotham 7th. Ryan Gibson 8th. AJ Knickel, tonight's pole sitter, is 9th. Andy Hurdle down in 10th after his brush with the wall earlier. Cody Cudmore in 11th, and Ivan Reynolds rounds out our current runners. He's 12th. As we're set to begin lap number 27 now. And again, it's essentially a 2-horse race as it stands right now on track. And there is the main battle, Ireland and Ford. But while we've got an opportunity, we'll go ahead and flip through the rest of the field. We'll take a look in on Marcus Snow here. It looks like he's just gotten past Cody Cudmore in pursuit of Michael Dimitrov in 3rd place. And Snow, he's had himself a quietly good season. He's currently 8th in the driver's standings. And if we drill down a little bit on some of the results that he's had over the course of the season, again, just the 4 starts out of 5 this year, so that could be even better. He does have a podium in there. And he's been a strong qualifier, so that's where he's made up the lion's share of his points. As it looks like, well, I thought Snow was going to try and make a run at Dimitrov into turn 1. But it doesn't look like that's come to pass. It looks like the 22 found extra little burst of speed there off the start-finish straight. But now again, Snow trying to close in here on Dimitrov. And again, good to see Dimitrov back as well after a week off. But he's going to find himself right in the heat of battle here, as it looks like Snow might try and make a move into turn 1 to begin lap 29. And he got enough of slipstream here, and that is job done here for Marcus Snow right now. Anyway, he's up into 3rd. Dimitrov's not going to give it up without a fight. But Snow has the inside line, and it looks like he'll take the position. But he might get an immediate pushback here from not only Michael Dimitrov, but Dan Cudmore is making his way into the picture as well. He's 5th. So that's 3 through 5 you're seeing on screen, separated by less than 0.4 of a second. And again, you know that the series founder would love to get in on this battle as well, as we're now on lap 30. And again, you got a trio of cars here. Jason Butler just lurking another further second back, as you can see. But again, it looks like Snow's doing a good job right now to hold on to the position. Could be an interesting battle between real-life buddies here, Dimitrov and Cudmore for fourth. But again, Snow's there for the potential attack in third. But again, Dimitrov not quite close enough. Dan Cudmore not quite close enough, obviously. But we'll see what kind of slipstream Dan Cudmore tries to get off of Dimitrov here. Is he going to try and get fourth into turn one? The answer is no. It looks like everyone's going to hold position here right now as Dimitrov gets up on the back of Snow again. And we're on to lap 31 of tonight's Indy 250. And, oh, I thought Dimitrov might have another run there as we're looking at probably lap 47-48 for our next fuel window by the looks of things. Meanwhile, Dimitrov on the outside, he's got the position. Jason Butler, he slides his way into fifth, but Snow's going to try and get the position back, potentially on the outside. What a battle this is. Got basically four all bunched up here. Maybe a quarter of a second separating the four. This has chaos written all over it here. Right now, Snow still holding on to third. Or I should say he just got it back from Dimitrov. Cudmore there in fifth. Butler back into sixth. But again, these four separated by just half a second on track now. And this is, I have to say, making for some very interesting running here. As I think Snow might have just gotten a little bit more breathing room, but for a moment there down the start finish straight, it was getting exciting, and it might again here as Butler's got the inside. And Butler is in fifth right now. He's gotten past Cudmore. Will he have Dimitrov as well? Yes, he does into turn one. Jason Butler snagging two positions in one turn. Great move there from the 28. And now Butler suddenly right on the back of Snow here as well on that back straight. And Butler's going to get the inside line into turn three. Jason Butler, where has this been, buddy? And he's just soaring up into third in that number 28. And Butler, if he turns in a solid result, he's not a guy who's out of it either. He's currently fifth in the driver's standings, one podium and a DNF to his name here so far this season. But again, we've got a little bit of a shakeup behind the top two now. And we've got another battle in the midfield here as Ryan Gibson and Ty Higginbotham are battling for 7th and 8th. We will bring you back to the leaders, Ireland and Ford, here momentarily, just highlighting a couple other battles here that are happening on the track. And certainly you were rewarded with some great racing there just a moment ago. And again, right now, Gibson holding down 7th place. Higginbotham trying to find a way past. About 2.5 tenths separating these two. Quarter of a second, I guess that would be. As we're now on to lap number 35 out of 100. And again, Jared Ireland continues to lead here. The gap's about, well, a little under half a second between himself and Darcy Ford for 2nd place. And then you go back a little bit further in the field where you find Jason Butler 9 seconds back of the lead in 3rd. And he's leading a quartet that includes Marcus Snow in 4th, Michael Dimitrov in 5th, and Dan Cudmore in 6th. I don't know about you folks, but I could certainly use a bit of a moment here. So we're going to go ahead and take our next Rampage rest stop, and we will be back in about 30 seconds. Welcome back to continuing coverage of the Indy 250 and the Rampage Coffee Company IndyCar Series. And again, on lap 37, Jared Ireland continues to push the pace here. Darcy Ford, as you can see there, is 2nd, half a second back. And another 8.5 seconds adrift is that 4-person battle that I was telling you about just before the commercial break. Jason Butler remains 3rd, Marcus Snow 4th. Michael Dimitrov 5th, and Dan Cudmore is P6, with about 1.1 seconds separating those four. And about another 5 seconds back on track, you've got that battle for 7th and 8th between Ryan Gibson and Ty Higginbotham, and it's just the 8 cars who are on the lead lap right now. AJ Knickel there in 9th, kind of running his own race right now, 1 lap down. Andy Hurdle, after his early incident, is 10th. And you got Cody Cudmore in 11th, and Ivan Reynolds rounding out the field in 12th. And again, Ireland looking awfully good right now in that number 8. And we'll just get a sense of what his fuel gauge is looking like here in a moment as he crosses the line. So 27.2, we're saying about 2.5 liters per lap, so that would put him on course to pit around lap 48. So I would suggest that is the second window that we're looking at here. And in the meantime, we got another 10 laps of racing to go, as Ireland makes his way up to Knickel to try and put him down another lap. Again, certainly not going the way of the number 20 here tonight, and as mentioned, if things were to end as they are now, we'd have a tie championship situation headed to Road America next week, given the double points scenario here tonight. And it looks like Ireland's made the pass on Knickel, and oh, Knickel spins out of turn 1. That's going to let Darcy Ford by. That's one way to do it, I suppose. But again, that is going to put these two right in the line of battle here, 1/4 of a second separating them on the back straight. And again, Ireland doing a good job of being a front runner here. 2/10 up now on Darcy Ford. And we're going to be beginning lap 41 here momentarily, right about now. And there you see Ford's really closed the gap here on Ireland as they come through turn 1. We'll have to see if there's any potential fuel or pit stop strategies that come into play here to try and push Ford ahead of Ireland here in this second pit stop window, which is again about 6 or 7 laps away, somewhere in that ballpark. As we'll actually go ahead and take a look at what Darcy Ford's got fuel-wise here right now. Looks like he could go probably another 8 laps, so he could stretch it to lap 50 if he really wanted to get adventurous, I think. Maybe able to conserve a little bit, just kind of hanging around behind Jared Ireland, not fully applying the gas. And it might be a way for him to stretch it to not have to do a stop in the closing laps here, just trying to think ahead a little bit here. So could be something to watch here for the 3 as we go along. Just kind of content to stay behind Jared Ireland right now. Of course, it'd be a little bit different if it was lap 93 we were on instead of 43, which we've just begun. Again, that gap is about half a second still, with really not a whole lot more movement throughout the field. It looks like everyone's still in place, as a matter of fact. But again, the fact that we haven't checked on them in a little bit, we'll go ahead and take a look at the guys in the back. We haven't really talked about them much over the course of the evening. We've got Cody Cudmore here in the 15, running in 11th, just a couple seconds ahead of Ivan Reynolds here right now. And Cudmore comes into tonight 11th in the driver's standings, 198 points to his name. And again, the double points paying position should mean that Cody Cudmore pushes himself up a little bit as Ty Higginbotham hits from 8th. And based on the time, I would say he's probably going to remain in 8th when he comes out. Effectively a free pit stop here, just the way the top 8 on the lead lap have separated themselves. As we're on to lap number 44 now, at least the leader is. Lap 45, I should say. as we'll bring it back to Jared Ireland. And it looks like Ford is just trying to get past Andy Hurdle, who is lap traffic here right now. Again, the previous Indy 250 winner. And as a result, Ireland has built himself up a 1.1 second lead, although I thought he touched the grass on the inside there to turn 3, which that could have proved potentially catastrophic. But it looks like it's all kind of worked out for the number 8 here as he goes on to lap 46. And Ford has made his way past Hurdle. So the chase can resume over the last couple laps here before we get into pit stop territory. Meanwhile, again, a little bit further back, we've got this great battle here for positions 3 through 6. Again, you see Jason Butler leading that train, Marcus Snow there in 4th. Michael Dimitrov remains in 5th, and Dan Cudmore there in 6th. Less than a second separating these 4 on the track. So where some of the earlier races have had their fair share of separation, this has provided some good racing here, I have to say. As Butler crosses the line right about now to begin lap 47. And Butler, he's about 6.5 seconds back of our leader, Jared Ireland, right now as it stands. And again, Darcy Ford making things a little bit closer here. Meanwhile, back of the field, might have a bit of a battle on our hands here for the final positions. Cudmore and Reynolds. And it looks like Cody Cudmore is going to hold on here for the time being. Less than a second separating those two right now. And again, we'll go ahead and check on that fight here in a little bit. Meanwhile, back up to the head of the field, we're going to ride with Darcy Ford. As a matter of fact, we're going to go directly on board right into the cockpit just to see the gap between himself and Jared Ireland with the eye test here on track. And 6.6 liters of fuel remaining here in the tank on lap 48. So I would say probably give him 2 laps before Darcy Ford is in. And Ireland's going to go ahead and stop now. So that prediction proved to be correct on the Ireland perspective. And he came in with 4 liters remaining. He probably could have gone 1 more lap, but it's going to give Darcy Ford an opportunity to try and speed his way around the circuit, as he's basically got clear traffic all the way around the circuit, as he's now in the lead on lap 49. And again, if he really wanted to push it, he could definitely go 1 more lap. And we'll see if he comes in or decides to stay out for that 1 more. And Ford not going to chance it one bit. He's in on lap 49. And so that's going to give Jason Butler the lead, or I should say that's going to give Marcus Snow the lead as Butler comes in. And we'll go ahead and get back to our regular camera angles. So again, Marcus Snow's your leader. Ryan Gibson in 2nd, although I'm not sure if he's pitted yet this 2nd round. And Snow, you'd have to imagine, is coming in this time. Ryan Gibson, he will, well, he's on the back straight right now, so surely he'll have to come in this time. And we'll check in on Snow, and indeed he has come in. 2nd round of stops, getting a bit of smoke there on the back tires just to make sure he hits that speed limit. And based on the race feed, it doesn't look like he's picked up a penalty, so it looks like Snow has done the job. Bit of a Snow job there, but he got it done. As Gibson makes his way in as well, and with the way things will cycle back out, Darcy Ford is once again the leader. And I think staying out that extra lap has paid dividends for the 3. Although I say that, Ireland just passed right by him on the back straight. So Ireland reclaims the lead here. Darcy Ford will be in a net 2nd here once they get past pit lane, where Marcus Snow and Ryan Gibson are currently situated. And they're flying down the start-finish straight here right now. And again, we'll just have to see where everybody cycles out. And yeah, it looks like Ireland and Ford have cycled back out into first and second, with Butler there in third. Time should be resetting here as we get our pit stop window all finished up. And again, we've just passed the halfway point of tonight's Indy 250. We're on lap 51. And it'll be 52 here soon enough, because I might not be able to do math, but I can count. And there goes Ireland across the line to begin lap 52. 0.7 of a second separating Ireland and Ford right now. And again, the way things are looking, I think we're probably just looking at one more pit stop for each of the drivers to get them to the end. And even then, it might be a bit of a lean conservation at the very end. But again, Ford just content to sit behind Ireland right now. As meanwhile, it looks like Dan Cudmore's been the beneficiary of some pit stop wizardry here as he's moved up into fourth. Suddenly, we've got a battle here between Marcus Snow and Michael Dimitrov for fifth. As Snow comes down the start-finish straight to begin lap 53. Dimitrov right on the back of him, but not quite in the range to be able to pull out and try and make a move. And again, this is easily the closest battle here on the track right now, the way things stand. And again, if things end up as they are right now, we're going to have a tie in the driver standings between AJ Knickel and Darcy Ford headed to Road America next week. And Snow here hanging on to fifth. Dimitrov maybe a hair closer this time around. Trying to get as much speed as possible off the back before he pulls out. But again, not quite enough room there in that run to turn one. But this is certainly something worth observing as we go along. But right now, we'll go back to the head of the field where Jared Ireland continues to lead, which he's done basically since about lap 23 or 24 of this race. And certainly that number 8 Chevy looking awfully good right now as we begin lap 55. Again, Ireland just kind of stretching out that gap a little bit, almost 0.4 of a second now on Darcy Ford. With Butler kind of lurking, he's 3 seconds back of the leader. A little bit of separation between himself and Dan Cudmore there in fourth. And again, you've got that 5-6 battle between Marcus Snow and Michael Dimitrov that's easily the closest on track right now. And we'll probably pop back and forth between our leaders and that battle for a good chunk of what's left. As you can see, the timing on the left-hand side, definitely a little bit more separation if you go through the rest of the field. As we're on to lap 56 now. Again, Ireland holding on to that lead, stretching it out almost to half a second. And it should be noted that Jared Ireland was very much on course toward winning one of the Indy 250 qualifying races earlier this year, but a little bit of, I think, misfortune just kind of befell him and ultimately took him out of that session, but he was cruising along in that qualifier. But now the number 8 trying to make amends here as we're on lap 57. Gap still about half a second here, maybe just a hair less. And again, now we'll go to Michael Dimitrov in 6th, but more specifically, we'll go right onto the cockpit with him, or right into it, I should say, as the 22 tries to chase down that 14 of Marcus Snow. And again, from the first Indy 250 to now, it has to be said, feels like the quality of racing certainly taken a step forward here as well over the last 6 or 7 weeks that we've been doing this. So certainly a good mid-season litmus test here for our drivers who are in the field tonight. And there you see even that gap now between Snow and Dimitrov is starting to open up a little bit. And again, we started with a full field of 16 tonight, but we have had 4 retirements to this point. Corbin McCauley, Mike Marini, Scott Kellum, and Justin Miller are the 4 retirees here from tonight's race. So again, we're left with 12 active runners as we're on to lap number 59. And again, we're on board with our race leader here, Jared Ireland. Kansas native 0.4 of a second up on Darcy Ford, still kind of doing a good job of maintaining that gap, to be quite honest. And again, looking at about lap 75 probably for the final pit stop. If, of course, it's played right by the drivers. And again, we'll go ahead and bring it back to our regular trackside cameras here now to give you a better picture of what's going on. Meanwhile, I think that's AJ Knickel who went through the grass. And that's an important development in the driver's standings because that puts him down in a 10th. Maybe even, no, it is 10th. It just kind of recalculated here on our timing. But again, it's an important development because if the race was to end right now, Darcy Ford would have a 4-point lead now headed into Road America. As we are set to begin lap number 61 of tonight's Indy 250. And again, we probably haven't mentioned it enough over the course of the last few weeks, but it's worth repeating once again. We can't do this without the support of our good friends at Rampage Coffee Company. They've been great to us over the course of the last 2 years, really, sponsoring a few races, of course, sponsoring a couple of series now. They've been so great to work with, and of course, if you visit our friends at rampagecoffee.com, go ahead and get 10% off your order online if you put in the code 519ERacing. Again, that's 519ERacing, and you get 10% off your order at rampagecoffee.com. So go ahead and support our friends, as we certainly like to see them be successful as well, as they've been a great part of our success here. As we move along to lap 62, meanwhile, looks like Dan Cudmore's made a move here on Jason Butler. Indeed, he has. That's going to put the 2 up into 3rd. So I just saw that move on the timing board there. I didn't see it physically happen, but I did see the position change. But there you see the proof in the pudding here as they come out of turn 4. Daniel Cudmore up into 3rd place. And this could certainly be a battle worth watching here as well, along with that 5-6 we've been talking about for most of the evening here between Marcus Snow and Michael Dimitrov. So it looks like the top 8, the way things have kind of gone, it's kind of grab a partner and pair off. The way you look at it here, as I thought Ford was going to get right on the back of Ireland there momentarily. Looked like he was close headed into turn 3, but maybe backed off a little bit. But again, as I say, if you look at the board right now, 1-2, less than half a second separating them. 3-4, same deal. 5-6, same idea, a little bit more separation. And 7-8 being Ty Higginbotham and Ryan Gibson. Again, same idea, about half a second separating those two. So it's just kind of crazy how things have worked out here. We've got kind of 4 different battles effectively here that we can watch. And again, notably, AJ Knickel down into 12th. He came in as the championship leader tonight. But the way things are going right now, looks like he will be going into Road America, if things were to end as they are right now, with a 12-point deficit to make up on Darcy Ford. So certainly consistency playing into the hand of the number 3 the last couple of weeks. And certainly double points for tonight doesn't hurt his cause either. But still a lot of racing to go as we're only on lap 65. Just coming up on 2/3 distance right now. Again, Jared Ireland is your leader. There you see the gap right around that 0.4 to half a second threshold that we've been talking about for really about 35 to 40 laps now. So not a whole lot of movement there, but certainly worth watching here as we got a little bit more separation. Actually, it looks like Dimitrov's gotten ahead of Marcus Snow. And indeed he has, and there's a second and a half between those two now, so not 100% sure what happened there. I'm not sure if Miller maybe got a little bit loose into a turn or what happened, but as you see, Michael Dimitrov up into P5 now. And we'll go ahead and check in on the 7-8 scrap here between Ryan Gibson and Ty Higginbotham. And we'll go ahead and watch it from the point of view of the 83. Matter of fact, we'll watch it right from the roof as they're gonna sling past AJ Knickel here. And there you can see the 27 on kind of the rear tire guards pretty clearly here. So Gibby certainly trying to get onto the back here of that 27 to make the move. Not quite close enough right now, 0.4 of a second as they begin lap number 67. And Gibson just trying to find a decent line to get himself close on the back straight, it would appear. But Higginbotham doing a good job of maintaining that ideal racing line. And as a result, earning himself a little bit more time. Meanwhile, we'll bring it back to the 3-4 battle. We're on board with Jason Butler. There you see that 2's super clear right ahead of him as they go into turn 3. Thought they might have been on that mini straight, which they're now on as they go into turn 4. And we'll have to see if Butler's close enough to make a move to try and regain 3rd place as we begin lap number 69. And right now, it looks like Dan Cudmore is going to hold his line. But Butler's certainly a capable racer. But again, that gap staying right about where it's been, about 1.5 tenths between the two. Butler having a little peek on the high line as we watch this battle develop. But again, it looks like Dan Cudmore is going to hold the position going on to lap number 70. And don't look now, but this battle isn't exactly out of that kind of victory pace either, or not out of range of picking it up, certainly. As Butler, who's in 4th, he's just 3.1 seconds back of our leader, Jared Ireland. As a matter of fact, you see all 4 of them on the straight. So really, I would say it's a 4-way toss-up here right now. Certainly the odds more in favor of Ireland and Ford, but certainly anything can happen, and as I said last week, it usually does. As we'll go ahead and bring it back to our regular trackside view now, and that looks like Ivan Reynolds got himself all ghosted and upside down. Haven't been ghosted like that in a long time. But certainly trying to make themselves invisible from the rest of the field are our lead pair of Jared Ireland and Darcy Ford. Again, we're back riding with Ford here now. Still about half a second back as we're set to begin lap number 72. And yeah, I would say Reynolds got a full flip there as he's now retired from the race. And again, Ireland just kind of holding that gap pretty steady here. At again, right around that half a second window between himself and 2nd place. And again, you see Cudmore and Butler, I think they might be kind of working together to try and bring themselves back into this as we see Andy Hurdle's retired as well. So that leaves us with 10 active runners. 6 retirements here out of the 16 who started tonight. And I have to say, it actually looks like fuel might be lasting just a little bit longer than I expected in this stint. So I would say probably we're looking at lap 77 as the kind of target window for our leaders to come in for the pit stop. Again, Dan Cudmore and Jason Butler, they are not out of this by any means. You just see them eating away at this gap, slicing away at it like a hot knife through butter. And there you see you've got the 4-pack here now. 1 second separating them as we go to lap 74. So I think this could well be won or lost in pit lane. And we're going to find out in a couple of laps how this is going to go. So in the interest of making sure that we get all that covered properly, we're going to go ahead and take our final Rampage Coffee Company rest stop of the evening. And we'll be back to bring you coverage the rest of the way, including this critical final pit stop window. So stay with us as coverage of the Rampage Coffee Company IndyCar Series continues right here on the Canadian E-Motorsports Network.
Wide coming through the turn here. They're coming up to the line here now. Darcy Ford still got it. Ward trying to get inside though. Where's Ward going to come in? Darcy Ford. And there's the checkered flag. Darcy Ford. And indeed, as he comes through turn 4, he's going to see the checkered flag. And there it is. Scott Bailey is your winner of tonight's Fix Auto 250. They're going to get the white flag this time around. Final lap of tonight's track device W125. And coming through. Oh, Marini went through. They're right on the back of each other. Paytack's going to get in on the inside. They're door to door. Paytack into the wall. Mike Marini, he's going to win. Got about 3 or 4 wide behind him on that back
There's
straight.
a lot of carnage right there.
Oh, dear.
A lot.
All right, here we go, folks. We're on lap 76 as we bring it back to live coverage of tonight's Rampage Coffee Company Indy 250. As again, part of the Rampage Coffee Company IndyCar Series here on the Canadian E-Motorsports Network. As you can see, Jared Ireland maintains the lead here on lap 76. Darcy Ford remains second. Jason Butler there in third. You saw Dan Cudmore pitting from 4th place just as we were going to commercial. And lap 77, this is roughly where I targeted Ireland and Ford coming in. And Butler, I think he might be able to stay out for 1 extra. Darcy Ford could be running on that ragged edge here as well. But we'll have to see how Dan Cudmore's undercut strategy works out for him, because again, he was the first of that lead 4 to pit. And Ryan Gibson, he could be a guy to look out for in the closing stages, as he's still got another couple laps in him. Running in 4th right now. Quite a gap to make up. He's 33 seconds back. But again, he'll be able to stay out a little bit longer as both Ireland and Ford have pitted. And that's going to put Jason Butler into the lead on lap 79, or 78, I should say. And for the number 28 Honda, certainly the lead Honda in the championship fight, if he's able to make this overcut or just kind of the ability to stay out that extra lap work for him, we'll have to see what kind of speed he's got on the out lap as he makes his way into pit lane. And so with the continued cycling, that's going to put Ryan Gibson into the lead. And I would say he's got at least 1 more lap to make his way around. Certainly doesn't have to pit this time around. Getting a little bit of a pull there from AJ Knickel as well. So certainly he doesn't have to come in this time around, and he doesn't. So briefly, Ryan Gibson will inherit the lead of tonight's Indy 250. But I would imagine he's probably going to be pitting this time around, so that'll be short-lived here for the 83. And it looks like the ability to stay longer has helped out in terms of Darcy Ford and Jared Ireland. But are we going to get the same slingshot here? Ford ahead of Ireland right now. And they're wheel to wheel coming across the line to begin lap 79. Ireland trying to make the move on the outside. It looks like he's going to make it stick. This is how it's gone in the last two pit stops here. Ford getting out ahead, but Ireland able to make up the time on the track as Ryan Gibson does come in from the lead. Meanwhile, Jason Butler still kind of cycling around. I don't know if he's actually, well, if he's gotten into the lead here, that's a bit of brilliant strategy here from the 28. And again, that would be the dividends of staying out for that one extra lap if that has indeed come to pass. And right now, Jason Butler still showing as the leader on lap 80. So it looks like a little bit more preservation here, or conservation, from Jason Butler, allowing him to stay out that extra lap. Looks like it was maybe a little bit of a game of chicken here, and ultimately the 28 has come out on top. And his lead right now is 2.5 seconds over second place Jared Ireland, Darcy Ford in third. And again, a guy who's going to like that is AJ Knickel, who came into the race portion of the evening 28 points up on Darcy Ford. Ford running third now, Knickel 10th. So the way that would work out, Ford get 42 for a regular third place finish. Double that, that's 84. Knickel is at 28 points tonight in 10th. Yeah, now they're back to level footing here, as it would stand. So, if it stays as it is right now, with Jason Butler in the lead, Darcy Ford in third, AJ Knickel there in 10th. Again, we're looking at a tie ball game potentially headed to round 7 at Road America next week. Meanwhile, Jason Butler continuing to lead the way here on lap 82. And the battle behind him is Jared Ireland and Darcy Ford for second and third. And that same 0.4 to half a second separating those two. And it is a little bit more kind of separated throughout the field here now. Dan Cudmore is 5 seconds back of the lead. And then Marcus Snow down in 5th is 34 seconds back of the leader. And I'm not sure what happened to Michael Dimitrov to get him to drop off the pace, as he's down into 8th. He was battling with Snow for the majority of the race. But now Ryan Gibson and Ty Higginbotham have moved up into 6th and 7th respectively. Cody Cudmore there in 9th. And don't look now. Again, AJ Knickel there in 10th. But he's 4.5 seconds back right now, so he's able to get that position. He might be able to still maintain his lead coming out of Indy. But again, all the focus right now is the man on your screen, the number 28 of Jason Butler, as he's about to begin lap number 84 here. And he's got about a 1.9 second lead on Jared Ireland in second place right now. But as you saw toward the end of that last stint, do not be surprised if Ireland and Ford potentially work together, try and reel in Jason Butler for a battle here in the last few laps, just as Butler and Dan Cudmore did to Ireland and Ford before the previous pit stops about 10 laps ago. But again, it's Butler holding on to the lead right now. It's down to 1.6 seconds now between Butler and Ireland. Darcy Ford right there as well, less than 2 seconds back. I would say around, if we keep going at this pace, we're looking at laps 92 and 93 potentially for Ireland and Ford to reel in Jason Butler. And then all bets are off, as we'll have a three-way shootout potentially at the end, barring anything ridiculous over the next few laps. But again, this is the prime battle here to watch on the track. Ireland and Ford battling for Second and third, you see just how close that gap is. It's under 0.2 of a second. And Ford certainly staying well within range of Jared Ireland right now. And again, you just see that lead of Jason Butler's getting sliced away. Butler now, or Ireland inside 1 second. Darcy Ford, I would imagine, will be there momentarily as well. So my initial estimate of laps 92 and 93 to reel in Jason Butler might have been a little bit on the conservative side. As now Ford is within 1 second as well. Top three separated by less than a second. But now Ireland pulling away from, not only pulling away from Ford, trying to catch the draft of Jason Butler here as well and trying to make a move on the outside as he's just kind of slingshotted himself right up to Jason Butler. Gap less than 0.2 of a second now. Jason Butler suddenly under pressure here on lap 87. Jared Ireland right on the back. Ireland's effectively lost Darcy Ford here right now, but Ford still lurking there about 0.6 of a second back. Not even, half a second back. As Butler opens up that gap a little bit more, that dirty air coming into play here for Jared Ireland as we're going on to lap 88. What I thought was going to be about a 7 or 8 lap shootout looks like it's going to be 13 laps here potentially. Again, Butler holding on to that lead right now. Ireland making great time out of turn 2 though. And we'll go right on board with him here, right on the roof. See Ireland having a little peek on the outside. Butler holds that inside line nicely. And they're going to be coming up on some lap traffic here momentarily. That certainly doesn't help Jason Butler's cause. Although that said, he could, of course, get past some lap traffic and put a little bit of a buffer between himself and Ireland as we go on to lap 89. And again, it looks like Darcy Ford's kind of fallen off the pace here a little bit of our lead 2 drivers. Ireland finding a little bit more pace to try and get up to Butler, but he's not there yet. As we'll bring it to the trackside cameras once again. And now Butler coming up on the back of Ryan Gibson here. And it looks like Butler was able to make his way through. And Gibson's going to let Ireland pass here as well as we're on to lap 90 now. It'll be 10 to go at the line. And again, Jason Butler still leading this one. Ireland 0.3 of a second back as the leaders try and make their way through a little bit more lap traffic here. Bit of a congested part of the circuit here, it has to be said. You got 5 cars within that kind of tiny space. But again, Butler doing a good job here of navigating the traffic, navigating the pressure as well, as we're down to 10 laps remaining. And again, things looking pretty clean here, so kudos to the back markers here as well for making sure that everything kind of goes on cleanly. As again, things can get a little bit hairy, especially if you're fighting your own battle as well. Meanwhile, here comes a fight. Ireland looking on the outside here. And Ireland, he's got the lead. Takes it on the outside into turn 3. Ireland on lap 91, back into the lead. Jason Butler in second. Darcy Ford in third. He's fallen off the pace here a little bit. 4.4 seconds back. But now we'll see if Jared Ireland can hold on for the next 9 laps. He's led the majority of this race here tonight. We'll see what kind of a response Jason Butler has at the end. But again, Ireland doing a good job of navigating right behind Butler. But Butler, he might have had a go there. Ireland kind of slams the door shut on that inside line. And this could be fun to watch over the next 8.25 laps here as they make their way through turn 4. And again, this is going to be a nail biter here at the line. I can just feel it. On to lap 93 now, 8 to go. Ireland still leads Butler. This is effectively a two-horse race now. We're going to stay with this battle here the rest of the way. But we'll do it for at least a lap or two anyway, from the perspective of second place Jason Butler. And we'll do it right on board here as we get a sense of the gap between himself and Jared Ireland at the head of the field, as it's widened a little bit to 0.4 of a second. As Jared Ireland, he's getting a little bit of separation here when he needs it, as they're on to lap 94 now, so 7 to go, including this one, of course. And Butler getting a good run off of that straightaway into turn 2, and gets a good run out of turn 2, and here we go. Jason Butler making the move, and he may have made it stick here. Jason Butler down that back straight. He reclaims the lead from Jared Ireland, but I think we're going to have a response from Ireland before this one's over. Jason Butler, we saw it right on board, just a clinical move. Got a great run out of turn, or into turn 2, I should say, but here comes the response from Jared Ireland on a lap 95. Butler not able to hold the lead right now. Ireland is back. Marcus Snow's just retired from tonight's race, so we're down to 9 runners. Meanwhile, Dan Cudmore has gotten ahead of Darcy Ford for 3rd. Didn't quite see that one coming, but such is the way things have gone here. That 2 finding some pace late in the race, as Cudmore will kind of sling his way past Ryan Gibson here on the track. But again, that's an on-track development. Cudmore into 3rd, Ford down into 4th. And with AJ Knickel in 8th, it looks like Knickel will come out of Indy still in the lead. Meanwhile, got a little bit of turmoil in behind. Didn't quite catch who that was. Certainly wasn't Jason Butler by the looks of it. It might have been Darcy Ford, though. He's headed into pit lane. So his race has kind of gone to hell in a handbasket as, oh, Butler touches the back of Ireland. Lap 96, you just felt like something was going to happen. And Jason Butler comes out the worst of it on that back straight. And right now, it looks like Jared Ireland's just going to cruise to victory here, as we've got 4 laps to go. Eventful right up until the end, but you know what? You got to stay consistent, and you got to keep it on track. That's what the number 8 of Jared Ireland's done over the course of this race. He's been able to navigate everything. He's gone mistake-free effectively, and he's come out victorious in this battle with Jason Butler. And again, it'll be 3 laps to go at the line for him. So with a 6.6 second gap over second place Dan Cudmore, this looks like it's Jared Ireland's for the taking. As again, we're on to lap 98 now, and we'll just go right into the cockpit of Jared Ireland, and there you see Jason Butler just coming back on track. The unfortunate casualty of that late battle here with Jared Ireland that was going so good on both sides. But again, just a little touch on the back wheel there from Jason Butler onto Jared Ireland, and Butler was the one sent spinning into the infield. And again, that's opened things wide open here for the number 8 of Jared Ireland, as it's going to be 2 laps to go as he crosses the bricks this time around. So just 5 miles left here in what's been a very entertaining, it has to be said, Indy 250. Again, talked about it a little bit earlier, but this race definitely, compared to the initial Indy 250, a lot more battling and a lot closer than the original Indy 250 was. Sure, there was a great battle there at the end with Andy Hurdle picking up the win, but I think consistently across the board, that, like, this has been a fantastic race here, as Jared Ireland's gonna see the white flag. And we'll be on to the final lap here momentarily, right about now, of tonight's Indy 250. And again, it looks like Ireland, if you just keep it on track here, he's going to be picking up his first win of the season. And certainly a guy with a plethora of talent, as we've seen over the course of the various F1 series he's competed in. And again, it's just a matter of keeping it on the track here for the number 8. And again, we're going to go right back into the cockpit with him as he comes through turn 4. Back onto the start-finish straight for the final time. He's going to be seeing the checkered flag this time around. And the winner of the second Indianapolis 250 is the number 8 of Jared Ireland. Again, an impressive victory all the way around, led from basically the end of the first stint onward, save for about 10 laps to begin the final stint. But again, some great racecraft from Jared Ireland ultimately got the job done. And everyone around him eventually wound up faltering as Dan Cudmore crosses the line in second. But again, really throughout the field, even if the results weren't necessarily there for some drivers, fantastic show of racing, it has to be said. And there you see the final standings. 4.4 seconds winds up being the final gap for Jared Ireland in victory. And we're going to go ahead and take one more commercial break, and we'll tee up the remainder of the season here for you on the other side. So stay with us as coverage of the Indy 250 continues on the Rampage Coffee Company IndyCar Series on the Canadian E-Motorsports Network.
3 wide coming through the turn here. They're coming up to the line here now. Darcy Ford still got a Ward trying to get inside though. Where's Ward going to come in? Darcy Ford. And there's the checkered flag. Darcy Ford. And indeed, as he comes through turn 4, he's going to see the checkered flag. And there it is. Scott Bailey is your winner of tonight's Fix Auto 250. They're going to get the white flag this time around. Final lap of tonight's track device W125. And coming through. Oh, Marini went through. They're right on the back of each other. Paytack's going to get in on the inside. They're door to door. Paytack into the wall. Mike Marini, he's going to win. Got about 3 or 4.
And again, I said it before we went to our last commercial break, just a fantastic show of racing really throughout the entire field here in tonight's Indy 250. Again, congratulations to Jared Ireland on picking up the win. And again, based on the standings tonight, it looks like AJ Knickel will take the lead in the driver's standings to round number 7, which will go down next week. It's the Road America Grand Prix from the Road America circuit in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. And again, that one's going to go down next Tuesday night, May 10th. Start time 7:30 p.m. Eastern time right here on our Canadian E-Motorsports Network YouTube channel. And again, we can't do this without our friends at Rampage Coffee Company. So head over to rampagecoffee.com, get yourself 10% off an online order if you put in the code 519ERacing. And again, we are kind of infinitely thankful for their support as we progress here in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network. They've been with us basically every step of the way. And we hope you'll be with us every step of the way too. And we'd certainly appreciate any likes, comments, or subscriptions on our videos here as well, as we'd certainly love to continue building this up as well. So for the rest of the Canadian E-Motorsports Network team, my name's Jordy Carraher. I hope you enjoyed tonight's coverage of the Indy 250. We'll see you next week at Road America as the battle for the IndyCar Series Championship heats up. We will see you then.